In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the coronavirus and multiple timeline reality creation. Hey everyone, my name is Tom, and if you're new to my channel, I make videos that help you empower your higher self and manifest your dream life. If you'd like to win 60 minutes of one-on-one coaching with me, comment below it is done. Winners are announced every week. So with all the global news, the social media posts, the discussions amongst people that you are coming across in your everyday life, it's no secret that the coronavirus is creating a lot of fear energy around the world. And rightly so to a degree. I'm not here to dismiss people and their right to view this situation the way they choose. That's their own free will. So this is not going to be a video in which I rant at people and try and convince you that you shouldn't be doing this or you shouldn't be thinking about it this way or that or the other. It's not going to be like that at all, because that kind of energy in and of itself is adding more to the problem or to the frequency of negativity that seems to be ensconcing the world. And also, I think that that delivery also undermines those who really do have the disease or who are really psychologically suffering about it. And my heart, in truth, goes out to you if you're one of those people. And I wish you health and well-being to yourself and your family if you are afflicted in some way by this illness. So I'm not here to take anyone's right away to perceive this situation as they choose. On the other hand, I'm here to explore an empowered perspective about this situation from my own point of view. One of hope and optimism and positivity and love, grounded in deeper truths about the nature of how reality and consciousness works. That's my perspective and where I'm coming from. And what I believe, if you follow me to the end of this video, is that you will leave feeling empowered in the truth of who you really are, in your innermost essence. And that is going to allow you to create a reality of health, well-being, and prosperity for yourself, your loved ones, your family, your friends, and humanity at large. That's my hope for this video. And so with that in mind, it's going to be both metaphysical and big picture in its perspective, as well as very practical and pragmatic. I'm going to give you lots of action steps that you can take with after this video to start to implement so that you can start creating favorable things in your reality. A reality of healing, health, and prosperity throughout this crisis. And that really is the most loving thing that you can do, and most valuable thing you can do during a time like this, is to radiate positivity and love from a place of deeper truth. Not a blind faith, not a silly pie-in-the-sky idea of hope and optimism, a practical, pragmatic, but deeply loving point of view. And we're going to give you that in this video. So right off the bat, I have said the word pragmatic about 3 times so far, and I want to quickly just get some of the very common sense things out of the way, the advice from the get-go, which is wash your hands, stay in isolation if you have symptoms, and go see a doctor if you also have symptoms or are concerned at all. These go without saying, and none of the common sense actions that you would go about with any illness conflicts with any of what I'm saying here. So that goes without saying, and do that, of course. Okay, so let's get into this empowered point of view for you. So beginning at the top, consciousness creates reality. Now, how does this relate to the coronavirus, a seemingly external bug that infects us? How does that relate to our own consciousness and our ability to heal ourselves or to simply remain healthy? Well, let's look at it like this. Here is a human being. And every human being is constantly and inevitably, unavoidably in a frequency of consciousness. Your energy that vibrates, in other words. That's your frequency of consciousness. And these are at different levels. These levels have been mapped out by various teachers and scientists, one being Dr. David R. Hawkins. in his book Power vs. Force, and these frequencies are basically mirroring emotional states. So they can be very low frequencies like fear, like apathy, like grief, or they can be very elevated and expansive frequencies like love, bliss, joy, nirvana, which is tied in with spiritual enlightenment. But there's a very drastic scale in the kind of frequency you can be in as a human being. Now, I say human being because that is actually two separate facets that make up your frequency. The human side of your frequency, which are your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, and then your being side, which is your side of pure awareness or beingness. And this is activated into your existence, into your experience through practices like meditation or yoga. But nonetheless, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, and your awareness creates your total frequency. It's the sum total of who you are. Now, there have been many scientific studies, and in books written by Dr. Joe Dispenza, among others, it's been found that our frequency actually emits a measurable electromagnetic field. And this starts interacting with our external environment. And the more elevated and expansive our frequencies, the greater the energy potential of that field around us. Now, why is this important again, and how does this relate to the coronavirus? Well, if we take this human being in a frequency of consciousness, we need to then look at how our frequency actually has a direct effect on what shows up in our external world. There's a direct correlation between our inner state, our inner frequency, and what shows up around us, what harmonizes into our reality. The two are deeply interconnected and interwoven. And quantum physics has shown us this truth. So I like the books by the quantum physicist Vadim Zeland, who wrote on reality transurfing. So if we take our human frequency, we can explore what reality transurfing, or again, what other scientists have shown, such as Dr. Joe Dispenza, and that is that our frequency actually interacts with a non-physical plane of reality. Some will call this the quantum field of potential. Vadim Zeland calls it the alternative space. And spiritual people may call this the source consciousness. But basically, it's a non-physical plane of reality that is accessible only through pure awareness. So you're never going to see it, you're never going to be able to touch this dimension of life, but you can turn within, detach from anything on this physical plane, and become directly aware that such an infinite inner dimension or non-physical plane exists. This is the quantum field, the source consciousness. Now, our frequency, the frequency we are in, is in interaction with this non-physical plane at all times. How is it in interaction with this non-physical plane? And again, how does this relate to the coronavirus? Well, we have two minds, and that's indicated by these two halves of the circle, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind's the beta brainwave state mind that we function on an everyday basis, and these are the thoughts we are aware of that we're having to a significant degree. We use our mind consciously for various tasks throughout the day. So that's the voice inside your head mind. And then you have the subconscious mind. This is the invisible mind that has significant depth, that harbors all of your beliefs, your emotional patterns and traumas, among many other things, such as your habits, and also your survival instincts. Now, this subconscious mind was described by Napoleon Hill also as the doorway to the infinite intelligence. The infinite intelligence, of course, being the quantum field of potential. Again, this infinite field of frequency and information that is in constant interaction with our frequency of consciousness that our being is in. So what happens is our frequency impresses through our subconscious mind and interacts with this field. And quantum events then occur from this field. What does that mean? Well, I've written a beautiful quote here by Dr. Joe Dispenza, which basically means that the frequency we are in, when it's in interaction with this infinite field of potential, we collapse fields of energy into patterns of information we call life. So in other words, the frequency of consciousness you're in, the sum total of your thoughts, feelings, your actions, and your awareness starts collapsing around your very life. You start expanding through life, and things show up that match your inner state, your inner frequency. So here's a little miniature model of how this works. If we look at each one of these squares, you'll see a little person in it. That's you in your frequency of consciousness. And you're in interaction with the quantum field. Your frequency is emitting to that, and then the quantum field is responding by collapsing the external world around that frequency to harmonize with the nature of it, the essence of it. And so you start expanding through one present moment after another down certain timelines. So if we take one of these upper arrows to mean positive thoughts, positive frequencies, well then you'll go from one present moment, manifestation of consciousness, and you'll expand to another present moment, manifestation of consciousness, and so on to increasingly positive lifelines, life tracks, timelines. So if you believe that you're a worthy person, a healthy person, a loving person, a successful person, what happens? All of your thoughts, feelings, actions, and your awareness capacity all harmonize with these sort of ideas and these frequencies, and you expand effortlessly through life towards what you most desire and your best version of yourself. That's how reality creation works. And then, of course, the contrary is true. Is if you have negative beliefs about yourself, negative behavioral patterns and emotional traumas, low awareness, low frequencies, then you expand down timelines of the like nature, like frequency. But here's the thing, is that in the quantum field are infinite timelines of potential that you can expand down, all subtly different, one present moment after another, all responding actively to your present state of frequency that you're in, state of consciousness you're in. So you can see the power of something like fear when it comes to the coronavirus, or love and faith when it comes down to the coronavirus, and where you're putting your frequency, where you're collapsing events that are known as the patterns of your life, the events in your life. So here's the key point, is that in your consciousness, you can create whatever frequency you want. And therefore, you can expand down whatever timeline you want. And a timeline exists for you in which you are completely healthy, exude well-being, have prosperity in your business, so completely unaffected by any economic things, and get to live an extraordinary, amazing life, peaceful, happy life, with joy and excitement, all the things that you could desire, even when a global crisis like this is going. Because there's a timeline for you in which all your friends and family are all well, healthy, completely fine, and you're selecting that timeline in your frequency, you're programming your subconscious with all of those relevant ideas, all those relevant emotions, and then you effortlessly allow life and the universe, or the quantum field, to guide and carry you there. Now this seems crazy, it seems far-fetched, it also may seem impractical, like, Tom, how could I not look at the news and take in a little bit of worry and anxiety and fear? I'm a human being. This is a natural reaction. You can't remain flawlessly connected to your dream reality and live in this grandiose fantasy land in which you imagine that you're well and can somehow avoid a virus. That sounds like silly, fantastical, wishful, new age BS thinking, right? Well, actually, you underestimate the power of your unconsciousness when you think like that. And through deep contemplation and many years of experimentation of this field, reading hundreds of books on this, experimenting it myself, and also having profound spiritual awakening experiences, which I've actually witnessed and experienced the quantum field in my first person point of view. Not to the nth degree, not to the magnitude I'm sure it still has to unfold to me, but to significant degrees where you wake up to the fact that this is actually very real. And you become a lot more nuanced and a lot more respectful of exploring this information for yourself before judging it or dismissing it out of hand. And I don't say that to chastise anyone if you are skeptical. By all means, definitely be skeptical. And I certainly was. I used to be an atheist, very skeptical person. I studied philosophy, so this took me a lot of open-mindedness. But nonetheless, if it resonates in your heart, in that intuitive plane, you can follow in on that, hone in on that, and start to apply the practical techniques I'll give you, and you will witness remarkable results. You will completely avoid anything catastrophic happening during this corona crisis. So anyway, let's now go a little bit further into positive corona timelines and how you can create this. Then we'll go into the practical tips. So let's realize that on planet Earth, in this universe, we are in the realm of duality. We're in a relative domain or expression of consciousness. What that means is that there's opposites: good, evil, hot, cold, light, dark, yin, yang, and it's in a relative domain. But again, outside of this relative manifestation of consciousness, or outside of this physical plane of reality, there is only absolute love. This is what spiritual enlightenment is tapping into the transcendent realm, or the quantum realm, quantum field, the alternative space, the source consciousness. Some may even call it other things like God. It's really just a label for an absolute realm of reality. Now, when you realize that reality, as I said before, when you meditate, you turn within, your awareness expands into this absolute realm, you realize it is infused with divine love. And it's a life-changing experience. But nonetheless, then you become this human again. Your consciousness doesn't stay up at those elevated spikes or peak experiences. But yet, nonetheless, you can take that sense that there is more to life, that there is true love in every experience. And you can start to adopt perspectives within yourself that embrace this infinite love of reality. And you can let go of the fear-based, limited, egoic perspectives on reality. Now, let's contrast these states of consciousness, or these frequencies, and work out the kind of beliefs about life that each one harbors, so you can start to embrace new perspectives on life that are going to shift you into a higher frequency state, and therefore a healthy, well life throughout this coronavirus crisis. So firstly, the ego, the sense of a separate self, and this fearful frequencies it remains trapped in, or locked in. This is also referred to as three-dimensional reality, third density reality, excuse me. So the kind of ideas around this is that when a thought arises in your mind, you instantly identify and become that thought. So you think, I might die of the coronavirus, or what if I get infected? And those thoughts launch from the infinite you, but because you think that you're an ego, and a separate, limited self, you become those thoughts and you follow them all the way along. And when you follow a thought, you then feel a feeling of fear, and your actions are fearful actions, and you're trapped in a low frequency, and you start to move down timelines that are actually unfavorable, more likely that you will get sick or run into people that are infected, or just have things, lots of stress and negative things show up in your life when you instantly become your thoughts. You believe you're only a body and a mind, so you believe that if this body disappears, or if your mind stops thinking, that you will die, and that's a terrible thing. You believe that you're a finite, temporary, and limited being, so you're only, again, this body in this time-space reality for this blip of time. And therefore, you're reactive and you're outward bound. You're constantly using your senses from this lower state of frequency, and you're reacting to the news, you're reacting to a conversation. Again, thoughts are triggering, you're reacting to those thoughts, and you're constantly bumbling around reality, and you're never grounded and centered. And there's this sense of that you're powerless, that you can't create your reality, that you can't manifest what you want, that life is against you and you're kind of a victim to it. And therefore, when you're in this victim mindset, you feel more like reality is brutal and mechanistic, and it's about survival of the fittest. Again, fear drive kicks in when you have these sort of beliefs. And so overall, you're run and dominated by a sense of fear. And that's sort of the ego, fear, 3D based state of consciousness. And that's what you want to start moving out of, is identifying with these sorts of ideas about life. But then equally embraceable, equally true in the relative domain to embrace, and therefore, even though these beliefs are relative, as in you're still believing them from a certain sense of a separate self, they connect you to the absolute truth, the absolute realm of infinite love and goodness. So anyway, some beliefs that you can embrace from this being side that you are, from this loving side, from this fourth density or fifth density state of consciousness, this high frequency state of consciousness, which will expand you down very favorable timelines, are that you know that you are greater than your thoughts. So when a thought arises that's fearful, you see it, you witness it, you allow it to pass through, and you stay centered. You stay centered knowing that a thought appears and it disappears, but I'm still here. I mustn't be my thoughts. I must be something greater than my thoughts. So you have a sort of mastery over your mind to a degree. So that's one thing you can do, and that's what meditation will help you achieve, is that separation between thoughts that arise, and therefore you get, when you're in control of your thoughts that arise, you're in control of your feeling state, your actions, your awareness increases, so does your frequency, and you expand down a favorable timeline. As you tap more and more into this sense of being greater than your thoughts, you start to realize you are infinite and eternal consciousness, an infinite and eternal being, far greater than just your mind and your body. And from this space, you also hear people that are very high in their level of awareness and frequency talk about being one with everything. So there's an interconnectedness with everything and a sense of wanting to be a loving, positive force for the world, because you know that that's intimately affecting everyone else's frequency, helping everyone rise up. So there's a sense of compassion there, even for people that are deeply enmeshed in their ego and their sense of fear. You're inwardly focused. So you turn within. You let go of thoughts, you let go of ideas, you detach from the fearful stimulation you're receiving from the world, and you center yourself in your infinite being that you are. Again, meditation and yoga and things like that, or simply taking a few mindful breaths, instantly you feel recharged with consciousness and higher frequency emotions. You focus within, and that's your truth. You realize that you are a powerful and deliberate creator, and that at all times you can master yourself, master your frequency, and set intentions into the quantum field and see them manifest for you effortlessly, more and more effortlessly, more and more gracefully and joyfully, and for the greater good of all of humanity. You realize that that is the power of your own consciousness and who you truly are. And there's a sense of connection to divine love and goodness in everything. Because you've seen the quantum field, or this transcendent non-physical plane of reality, and you know the infinite nature of it, and you know the power you have to consciously create from it, and you know the interconnectedness of everything, and you know the grander scope of all the unfolding events, and the eternal nature of life itself and every soul that you interact with, etc., you start to embrace and radiate a sense of divine love and trust and peace, that everything is unfolding in accordance with the best possible result for all of humanity. And you start to radiate that, trust that, and be of service from that clear place of clarity and love. And you know ultimately that nothing real can be threatened. And that's a statement from A Course in Miracles. That's one of the first things that's written in that book. Nothing real can be threatened in this life. Even those that are affected by the illness, you know that ultimately their consciousness lives on, and you've seen the enlightened nature of life, and you're tapping into those beliefs that embrace and support the idea that nothing real can be threatened, that you are eternally okay. You sink into that, you just sink into that, plunge into that depth within yourself, surrender into that truth and light and love. And immediately reality responds. That's the magical, paradoxical thing, is that as you let go and trust, you instantly are rewarded for that trust. But it takes that leap, it takes that proactive step within you. And this can only be recognized if you're ready to recognize it, and it intuitively lights you up inside. But nonetheless, you can start to embrace these beliefs, practically speaking, and having thoughts that really fuel this sense of peace and abundance, empowerment and love within you. So that's the contrasting states of consciousness, and you can move more into that 4D, 5D state of beingness and love in your frequency, and then create your reality and timeline of health, well-being, and prosperity, unaffected by the coronavirus. So that's the general traits. And before I go into the practical steps of things that you can do, practically speaking, I want to talk more about one final thing. So why are we talking all about this frequency stuff? And it all seems so individualistic. But actually, we're in a collective consciousness where every human being Down here, 7 billion of us are constantly in certain frequencies of consciousness. And therefore, we're thinking thoughts constantly, we're broadcasting that in our electromagnetic fields. Same with our feelings, we're taking certain actions. And again, we are either highly aware or very low in our awareness and consciousness. But collectively, we all have that responsibility to create a certain timeline in which planet Earth itself at large will manifest down. Together, are we going to choose a life for Earth that is going to be fear-based and see the consequences of coronavirus when it's being fueled by fear in our own collective consciousness? Or are we going to choose one of love, where we do the best we possibly can, not expecting perfection of ourselves, but sincerely doing our best to control our frequencies and be of loving service to humanity, inside and out, and fuel that timeline in which the coronavirus has been met with love. That's our choice. And obviously, if we all radiated love and we all trusted in the higher spiritual truths and truths about how reality works and the mechanism of how consciousness expands itself, how you can manifest things, if we all put our energy towards that, obviously positive results would occur for all of planet Earth, all of your loved ones, all of your friends, and yourself, such as containment of the virus, cures of the virus, favorable events, almost miraculous events that will just be favorable to us. Lots of happenstance and good luck. We can't even predict what that would mean, but it would just start to materialize that because that's how reality works. And obviously health and well-being, as I mentioned, for yourself and everyone else. So that's the Earth we're trying to create. Okay, so now let's get into the practical steps that you can lead with right now to start to create this reality for yourself, so you can move through this coronavirus crisis with the favorable result that you're after. So firstly, limit news and social media. Cut off that habit from the source. This doesn't mean stay uninformed. You will be informed, I guarantee you, of the key events. But I'm talking about the habitual cycle of peeking on social media, Google searching coronavirus, checking the stats, checking this. Limit that as much as possible and only tune in a conscious way for very specific chunks of time and make those chunks short. Get the key facts, stay informed, and detach as much as possible. And then your own frequency is very much under your own control because you're not letting negative, fearful bits of information constantly seep in and disrupt any momentum that you can build. That's a very practical one, is cut that out or limit it right down. Meditate, turn within, and find the infinite love within you. This can be achieved through simply taking a few mindful breaths throughout your days. Maybe if you've got a busy job at work, you don't have time to meditate, you've got kids, responsibilities, you're living a busy life, or anything of that nature. Simply taking a few conscious breaths every hour, that is extremely powerful. Again, it detaches you from the external world, it detaches you from thoughts, and in that detachment is that infinite love. It's right under your nose. You can start to taste it, you start to get glimpses of it, and even when you get a tiny little zap of that inner dimension, that's right under your nose. Simply if we just stop and attempt to make a sincere effort to realize that realm, you are supercharged with goodness and faith and love. Because again, you're starting to tap into the truth of reality itself, even in the tiniest glimpse. But of course, if you can do a daily meditation, I will actually link down a daily meditation I do, and this will again help you turn within and help you detach from the fear energy around you and cultivate more abundant, loving frequencies. Use your emotional guidance system. This is where you start to be consciously aware of your emotions. And if you're feeling negative emotions, you can know that the feelings are fueled by thoughts. So if you're in a negative, fearful, afraid, worried type of emotion, anxious, sense of confliction, sense of dis-ease, then you can take that emotional awareness and go, okay, what am I thinking? What am I believing about life? What am I believing about the virus? What am I perpetuating in my frequency based on the thoughts? And these thoughts will be somewhat obscured, somewhat hidden, but you'll be able to uncover them very easily, and you'll go, oh, I realize I'm thinking this way. Or what's the opposite positive thought that I can think about that? Or what's a slightly better way of looking at that? And you can constantly reach for higher and higher, better feeling thoughts and perspectives about life until your emotions start to feel joyful and abundant. And then you can be sure that, well, if I'm feeling this way, I'm in a good frequency. I'm taking care of my life. I'm going to be manifesting favorable things. So use your emotional guidance system. Another one is to have compassion and love for humanity at large. You can only control yourself and your frequency and do your utmost best. But if you witness people that are in this reactive, egoic, fearful paradigm of life, you have to extend compassion to them as best as you can. And just appreciate that all of us were unaware at some point of our lives of this information and these possibilities within ourselves. And these people are simply doing the best they can from their own perspective. And it's not like a pity thing like you are superior, you have the answer. It's a genuine, heartfelt love and compassion and allowance and acceptance of them, whilst also embracing your own truth and not letting people push you over or anything like that. It's not about that, but it's about a very fine-tuned sense of compassion. And this can put you at ease and again connect you to the broader perspectives about life and your true nature and the true peace and goodness of all things. So that's what you can extend to others within your own perspectives. And again, the next thing would be to watch loving and positive and empowered people around the coronavirus. So I'll link 3 videos of certain figures that I've watched that talk about the coronavirus in their own similar ways that make you feel good, that tap into these truths, these perspectives. So I'll link some of those and you can find these. There actually are many resources that are talking about this positively. There's even apps that only offer good news, and so that can help balance out all of this fearful news or negative news. So I would do that. And then you can start to use your imagination. So for 5 minutes in the morning every day, imagine yourself in a future, in a simple scene in which you're exuding health and well-being. Humanity's healed, you're well, your business is going well, your job's doing well, the economy's thriving, everyone's talking and telling you in your scene about how the coronavirus is healed, how it's passed. You're just in that joyful state that everything is well, humanity and planet Earth are on the right track. You can really take this scene in any scope or shape or form to any scale, and you basically want to just take this short scene, whatever's really meaningful to you, and visualize it from first person point of view and tap into that reality and realize that as you're doing that, you're again sending out certain frequencies into the quantum field and you're going to activate that timeline. And here's an interesting quote for that, which is that thought energy that you'll be using in your imagination, thought energy lights up certain sectors of the quantum field and it is then made manifest on the physical level, marking how consciousness creates reality. That's a quote from Vadim Zealand on the power of imagination and thoughts. So that's what's going to be happening here when you visualize into that reality and feel that to be real. You'll start to see that show up for real in your life. And all will be well, you will be healthy, your loved ones will be safe, and humanity will be on the right track. And the next one would be to, throughout the day, set intentions and use the Neville Goddard Isn't It Wonderful technique. So what do I mean by this? Well, this is where you basically affirm to yourself statements about health, about well-being, about positive things that are going well in your life, expressing gratitude for that. So you could simply go through your everyday life, walking down the street, sitting in bed, whatever you like, and say, isn't it wonderful I have my health? Isn't it wonderful that we are moving in the right direction with this? Isn't it wonderful that my family is safe? Isn't it wonderful I have love in my life? Isn't it wonderful I know the truth of who I am? Isn't it wonderful that all is unfolding perfectly? Isn't it wonderful that I trust in the divine unfolding of all things? Isn't it wonderful that I just know the better I feel, the better the external world will reflect around me? You can set intentions and affirmations around these themes and constantly repeat them to you and look after your mental diet. And again, that thought energy will activate that possibility, that timeline, and it will start to materialize and you'll start to build momentum around it. It will start to be easier to be in a higher frequency. Your imaginal scene will also factor into this. All these other things will raise your frequency up. And then you'll survive the coronavirus. It will not appear in your reality. It will literally be a vibrational mismatch for you. and that'll be how you can contribute to your own health and well-being and prosperity and that of everyone that you love and care about and the world at large. So those are some of my practical tips that you can walk away and start to implement today to move through this global event. Alright guys, so those are my thoughts on the coronavirus. Again, it's really important for me to emphasize that I do not intend to be undermining this virus at all. This is simply my perspective of empowerment that I'm offering to you in the hope that we can all together manifest health for planet Earth and for humanity at large. So I hope that is valuable for you. So if you like this video, please like it, leave me a comment below, and subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for more videos on how to manifest your dream life. Thank you.